Hello, welcome back. This is Jeff Byers and this is Andy 255 and this is Module 7 and this is our final simulation that we're going to start. And I need you guys to model a tabletop, which is fairly simple. I'm doing a small tabletop. You can see my grid scale, okay? You want to go into your preferences, you want to go into settings and make sure you're at centimeter, and you also want to make sure that you're set up for simulation. So go to time slider, go to play every frame, and 24 frames per second times 1. Let's go ahead and click on save. Alright, so then I want you to create a picture, okay? So I usually do, I use the EP curve tool to create the outside edge, and basically what I did was I just, I'll show you basically quickly, and then I attached the handle and then extruded a lip to it. I gave you some references, you guys can use those or use whatever reference you want, and then I modeled the glass the same way. Okay, so I'll give you a kind of a heads up on how I did that real quick. You should be pretty good at modeling by now, so I think you get the idea. So what I ended up doing is using EP curve tool, going and I'll just quickly do that by just following the outline of this glass. So what I ended up doing was just went into grid snap and snapped to the center here. Okay, I turned off grid snap and I just freehanded, just following the outside of the edge here. And when you do a lip like this, you probably want to do like 3 of these, 2, 3, and then go down. And then go down here, 1, 2, 3, and then you want to follow that up, and we want to finish that off by clicking on the grid snap. Okay, so I click on enter, okay, and then I can fix these control points, okay, easily moving those around. Just turn off grid snap. So I'm just going to follow this, and then you got to kind of unknot some of these things, find out what your where your knot is. There we go, here's one of the knots. There's got to be another knot somewhere over here. I'm not sure where it is. There it is, way at the bottom there. Sometimes it just does that. Just got to unknot them a little bit, and you just kind of finesse the loops, get the best shape that you want. And let's see here, we gotta unknot this one. This one is way out of whack here. There we go. And we gotta unknot this one a little bit. Okay. Alright, so that's why we needed quite a few vertices up here, is because we can sharpen this up a little bit. What we want to do is just get real close to that edge. Let's bring those edges down a little bit, like that. Just continue getting that edge a little bit closer. There we go. And you refine it as you move along. So you just kind of refine it. Refine that edge all the way. And I'm not going to be perfect at this. I already did this already. You do the same thing for cylindrical shapes. You know, if I like the picture, and then you would extrude that piece there. But once you get that done, I'll go ahead and put this in a layer. I believe I have it in a layer already. So once you get that curve profile done, then you go in here and you just go to, let's go to hotbox and show all at this point. I need my, there we go. So curve surfaces, we want to revolve. Okay, we can go in here and just reset it and revolve it. There it is. There's the glass. And then you take the glass that you revolved and you go to modify, convert, NURBS to polygons, because that's a NURBS surface now. and you want to go to control points and click on tessellate. And you'll take that, move that to the side, and then that's what you end up getting. And then you want to mesh smooth it once. Let's go ahead and do it once, and you get something that looks like that. It's not perfect, you know, obviously, but you have to tweak it out to get all the rough edges out. But anyway, that's what you do, and then we're gonna, let's get rid of that, and the mesh, get rid of that, and then this curve. I always save my curves, but let's get my glass back in here. So that's how you model that if you need help with that. So there's my glass. I say, so this is my low poly. These two pieces are my low poly. And then what I need to do is I need to go ahead, and once I get all that done, I select them all, and then I go into poly modeling and delete by type history and freeze transformation. So I freeze transform all this stuff. Okay. Right, so the table, so what we're going to do is we're going to duplicate that, and you can see I got a low poly table in a layer, I've got my picture in a layer, and I've got my glass in a layer. This is all low poly stuff. So I want to save that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to Control D, which is duplicate, and click on this new layer and add the object. I know you know how to do all this stuff. And then with that, I'm going to go ahead and rename that to be Table High Poly, or just call it Table High, and save. Okay, and then we'll go ahead and go to Mesh and Smooth, and that will be subdivision levels at 2, and smooth that. Okay, and we'll turn that off. I'll turn my low poly table off so you can see there's my high poly now, and I want to delete by type history and freeze transformations on that, and I want to make sure my glasses are flat on top of the table. Okay, so I can get real close to the bottom, and I can hold the control key down, or the alt key and the arrow keys, and go up and down and get that just nice and level. Okay, now I'm going to do this when I do my high poly. Okay, so now I'm going to do my glass as a high poly, but I'm going to do Control D as a duplicate, and then click on the layer, double click on that, and that will be my glass high. Oops, high. Save that. Now turn off my glass low. Okay, so that's my high poly. So I'm going to go ahead and go to Mesh and Smooth, and that'll be my high poly, and then I'll delete by type history on that. And my translation of that, whatever that was, delete that, or freeze transforms there. So I'm going to keep that at 0. So that's at 0. This is at 0 right here, and then this one is my last one. I'm going to do a Control D, which is duplicate, and go into the layer, select that layer, double click on it, and this will be the picture high. Okay, which means high poly. Save that and turn off the picture here. There we go. And then with just having that selected, I'm going to go ahead and mesh that and smooth that. There we go. And then go through the delete by type history and freeze transformations. And now I've got everything in here that's high poly that I need. I got the low polys off in here. So I've got my high poly table, got my high poly glass, got my high poly picture, and if you want to do this again, you would go to center pivot, delete by type history, freeze transformations, and we all want to kind of get those renamed. So this is picture 1, so I'm just going to call this underscore high underscore poly. So we'll have that all named nice. Glass, you know, high poly. There we go. And then we have our table. So let's call that table high poly. Alright. Okay, so that's all named. Everything looks good. This is what we're going to save. Scene right here. This is where we're going to save now. So we've got delete by type history, freeze transformation, center pivot on all this stuff. Okay, that's all clean. Everything looks good. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and save my scene. You always want to do that. And this will be called simulation. I've already done this a couple times. Whatever you want to call it. I called it Module 7, Milk Simulation 3, and this is going to be called High Poly. And I'm going to call it FIN, so I know that's my finished scene. Okay? Right. Usually I don't texture stuff until after I do my simulation and I cache it. Once I cache it, you're good to go. And then we've got to mesh it. You have to mesh up it, mesh it up. So once we mesh that simulation, then you'll be finished, and you can go ahead and texture it and get it lit. And so that's the process that I follow. I don't really mess around with texturing everything. If you want to, it's not going to hurt the simulation any. Okay, it's not going to hurt anything. So what you want to do is usually glass material. We're going to render this in Arnold, so it can, because when we mesh up, it's a geometry, and what we'll do is we'll add a material to that as AI standard surface. So what does the materials look like? I'm going to have an image of it before you even start the animation, and you can either texture before, add the materials, but what I end up doing, because I like to see what the simulation looks like, I do all my texturing later. It's really up to you what you want to do. But if you add a material like a AI standard surface, it turns it, and when I go in there and I make it invisible, which basically you just have to go to geometry and just turn the opacity down. You can do that, but it just, if I turn it all the way, it just makes it, to turn the opacity, it just turns it black. So that's not helpful. I can't see through it or anything. That's just how materials are in Arnold. So what I do is I just take this, right click over and go assign new material, and go to Maya and use a blend, and then I just turn the transparency about 75%. Now I can change this material anytime I want, but I just want to see it during the simulation. Okay, so I'm going to do the same thing with the glass. Just add a quick material blend, just a simple blend. We can make those changes anytime we want, and just turn the transparency up. I'm not even going to worry about renaming it. Okay. Alright, so that makes no difference to me. So now we're ready to do the simulation. We'll do that in the next video. Alright, I'll see you then.